With October Friday the 13th now out of the way and things slowing down after the release of the new counselor, Jason, and map, it's about time to start focusing on the future of this game and content that we may be getting added. With Fox on the way and the roadmap showing us that in the near future we should be getting new kills and new clothing, we're still going to be focusing on something a decent bit bigger for this game. I'm talking here of a Part 5 Jason being added to the game along with a Part 5 map, and most likely an entirely new game mode to accompany this. I just want to say before we get into it that the reason for focusing on this film in Jason instead of any other film in Jason is because of the way that the content we have is already in chronological order. At the game's launch, for playable maps, we had Crystal Lake, which was based on the setting of the first film, we had Backlynx Lodge, which was based on the setting for the second film, and we had Higgins Haven, which was based on the setting for the third film. And obviously, after the latest update, we have the Jarvis House, which is based on the location from the fourth film. So it definitely makes sense moving forward that if they are going to be adding more content, they might just go ahead and keep this going in order. But there's a big catch. Before I go any further, just have this. The movie may be 30 years old at this point, but anyway, spoiler warning. So the killer in the Part 5 film, A New Beginning, isn't actually Jason. The killer is actually Roy, who's a paramedic in the film, who gets set off early in the film by his son's death and starts mimicking Jason. So the big catch for this Jason being in the game is the fact that he's not Jason. The good news here though is there are a ton of ways to handle this situation. They could just add him to the game as a regular Jason that behaves as any other with his own set of strengths and weaknesses and have him be nothing different than we're used to. They could even go the extra lazy route with it and have him hear Pamela's voice lines and be affected by the sweater just like regular Jason is. And honestly, no one would probably even care. But most ideal from a player standpoint is likely to add an entirely new game mode with an entirely new playstyle to this game. The roadmap does eventually indicate that we will get a new game mode added, and maybe this is it. Now, to give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about here and how this game mode would work based on the film, here it is. So like the regular game mode, you've got 8 counselors, but here's the twist. At random, one of the counselors is selected to be Roy or Part 5 Jason. None of the counselors know who it is, and instead of counselors working together to focus on completing objectives and escaping the map, counselors are instead focused on finding out who the killer amongst them is. And while the counselors are trying to figure out who the killer is trying to kill the counselors without letting them know. And while there are obviously so many different ways to handle this game mode and its mechanics, it could clearly be something quite fun and interesting if it's handled the right way. But let's get back to an actual Part 5 Jason. I'm not much a fan of ifs, but if Part 5 Jason is added to the game as a regular Jason, there are still some cool things they could do with him. He could have completely unique intros and outros, he could be completely immune from anything to do with Pamela or her stuns, completely unique strengths or weaknesses, but probably best of all for counselors is you won't need Jarvis to kill him. If Roy is added to the game as a playable Jason, it definitely doesn't make sense to have the procedure that we currently have in place for killing a Jason. He could arguably be killed by nothing more than raw damage and relies on blending in with the counselors. Think of something along these lines. 8 counselors spawn in not knowing who's going to be Jason. The game mode could have some pretty crazy tweaks like no minimap, no map, and maybe no radios. One of the counselors spawns with a Jason mask in their inventory. If the counselor is not visible by any other counselors in the lobby, they can activate the mask and morph into Roy Jason. Roy Jason potentially has no music, no strengths, no weaknesses, maybe even no abilities. What Roy will rely on is discreet killing and blending in with other regular counselors. The killer's goal will be to gain trust, get close to your victims by hiding in plain sight, transforming into killer, and doing the deed. Now this game mode definitely does sound like something I would be interested in giving a go. It sounds like it would be one way or the other, either a ton of fun or severely disappointing. And although that's just a rough idea of how these things would work, let me know how you feel about that, or if you've got a different way that you would like to see it implemented into the game should it be something we get. It's worth noting though that Part 5 Jason and the game mode might not end up being the star of the show when it comes to content based on the Part 5 film. A Part 5 map sounds arguably like the best content we could have added to the game. There are unique and diverse locations, a well-rounded and iconic atmosphere, and depending on how the developers are feeling and the resources available, the potential for a new and unique vehicle in the game. The Backlynx Lodge, or Higgins Haven, or Jarvis residence of the Part 5 map would be Pinehurst. Pinehurst is a halfway house that Jarvis is at, and also where a lot of the film takes place. Other locations or areas on this map that we would definitely see as well are the trailer park or the barn where Roy is killed. But there's one really obvious and unique piece that they could do with the Part 5 map, and that is a motorcycle escape. While this motorcycle here isn't necessarily a massive part of the film or films, it's definitely memorable enough to have in-game as a tribute to the film. There are also even a bunch of characters in the film that would make amazing playable additions to the game. Almost everyone is someone you want to play in-game. So although all of this content, the new map, the new Jason, counselors, potential vehicle, potential game mode, is a ton of work, I definitely hope this is something we see added down the road. If we are ever to get something like this though added to the game, it's likely that the developers have already started working on this. And maybe, in some way, shape, or form, some of this content is related to that blue dot thing that I will never talk about from this point forward. But it depends. That's not a promise. Also in the news, but actual news, is last year's beta has been officially delayed. For those of you that don't know, last year is supposed to be an asymmetrical survival horror game similar to Friday the 13th. The game looks super promising, and it was supposed to have a beta in August of this year. Unfortunately, the beta got delayed to late October, and just a couple of days ago it was officially announced that the beta is delayed yet again. Personally, I don't think the delay is much a bad thing, and I think the worst thing about that game's beta is the fact that when it is in beta, it will be under non-disclosure agreement. This means that the players that are in the game's beta can't share videos of themselves playing it, they can't stream it, they're not even allowed to talk about the game. But last year and this topic deserves its own video, so be on the lookout for that and let me know if you guys are cool with seeing this kind of stuff on the channel. And our last bit of information for this video is Hunt Showdown. Hunt Showdown now finally has a trailer on Steam, and it's announced that it will hit early access soon, though we don't know how soon is. And for those of you that don't know of Hunt Showdown yet, it's relatively tough to explain just exactly what it is. Simply put, Hunt Showdown is a first-person cooperative shooter where you hunt monsters with both horror and survival elements, all the while other players are in this world hunting you while you're hunting them. It looks very, very promising. And although these topics are worthy of their own videos, I'm not going to go into further detail on either last year or Hunt Showdown in this particular video, but if you want to check out content in that, I will link some trailers in the description below. And again, absolutely do not shy away from letting me know how you feel about last year content and Hunt Showdown content on this channel. They are definitely two games I plan to cover a decent bit, but I don't want to go over the top bombarding you guys with this shit if it's not the kind of stuff you want to be seeing. All of that being said though, let me know how you guys feel about anything from this video. New Jason, new map, new counselor, new game mode, motorcycle, last year, Hunt Showdown, whatever it is. Do not hesitate to share your opinions or feedback below. For a short while after this video is uploaded, I will be reading and responding to every single comment you guys leave behind, and I'm excited to read what you've got to share. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video or the information in it, and if you have not already, please consider taking a moment to go ahead and click the like button, and or subscribe for future content including Friday the 13th news videos, information on last year or Hunt Showdown, and of course Friday the 13th live streams on both PC and PS4. Just a heads up though that this upcoming Tuesday the 24th we will be playing a bunch of Destiny 2 on stream. I figure that's definitely worth mentioning given that it's outside of the genre that I usually cover on this channel. But anyway, all of that stuff being said, I'm going to leave you guys with the rest of this round up until the second escape. But for now, thank you guys for watching the video. So he likely checked two-seater, and then he'll check one of the exits. Actually, if he checks two-seater, he can check that exit right from there. Jarvis W. Bush. Okay, we just fucking crabbed the fuck out of there. Okay. Alright, let's go, dude. That was so cheap, but I will take that, no fucking doubt.
Tommy Jarvis. Come home.
I wish I had dances on, you guys. I really wish I had dances on for that.
Jeff, you have to say thank you instead.
Thank you, June. I appreciate you.
You escaped from me.
Yeah, I did.
Did I even get double escape
I want
XP
on
for that?
Christmas. I want gun media give like everyone like the biggest present to